Yeah.
And you weren't really sparring. You were fighting. We were fighting all the time. And guys getting dropped all the time. And that was just the kind of gym that I was in.
There's no coming back from that. The people who, like, dissipate their teeth through drug usage, you don't get, like, a second set.
Didn't look like he got out of first gear. Jake Paul was just on pure survival mode from round 1 right through to round 6. I don't know if he's got a moral victory going 6 rounds. Maybe he has. People might give him credit for going 6 rounds. But he got in there and just survived. He just went in there and ran like a chicken from round 1 right through to round 6 when he got splattered.
Joe Rogan reacted with shock to the serious injury Jake Paul suffered in his fight against Anthony Joshua. He made it clear that boxing is a highly dangerous sport and that continuing to fight after such damage can have lasting effects on the brain and everyday life. According to Rogan, medical experts have warned that injuries like this can cause long-term problems, showing that the risks taken inside the ring are extremely serious and can change a person's life permanently.
Because then you can't think, you can't do things, you don't know what the you're doing in life. It's like literally everything is the quality of your ability to think. And I knew that
Joe Rogan strongly urged Jake Paul to rethink taking part in high-risk boxing matches, saying no level of success is worth putting your life in danger. Following the Anthony Joshua fight, Jake reportedly suffered major injuries, including a fractured jaw and several teeth being knocked out, which required medical removal. Rogan warned that staying on this path could result in even worse, possibly permanent damage. He emphasized that while fame and excitement may come with big fights, the personal cost can be severe. Both fans and fighters, he says, must remember that health should always come before ring glory.
Look at all them celebrities like dude from the Mighty Ducks, the little boy actor that got strung out on drugs. And all his fronts and all his teeth were missing from being on meth or whatever, whatever drug of choice he was on. There's no coming back from that. The people who, like, dissipate their teeth through drug usage, you don't get, like, a second set. So if I'm not mistaken, the dude from Mighty Ducks, somebody, like, he's been clean and they gave him a makeover and he has, like, pretty much fake teeth. So yeah, the teeth are going to be cooked. Now, I agree with the other part that Rogan was saying, but let's keep going.
Yeah, I think he went into that fight knowing that was probably going to happen. Yeah. And ultimately, the big win for him would be that he was even willing to do it and that he could do well for a little bit.
Yeah, and I've already expressed my thoughts on this. I'm not giving no props for a person who says I am a real deal boxer because I went in and get smashed and got my jaw broken, but I lasted longer than Ngannou. But I was crazy enough to try because, to be honest, we're way past the honeymoon stage with a person like Jake Paul. You've been in this for long enough to go through fight camps, dedicate your time, effort, energy, money, spar with people. You spar with some quality names because you have resources and money or whatever. So we're well past that to the point where you just get credit for stepping in. You maybe got credit your first fight or whatever, first couple of fights, for coming from your
David Haye reportedly explained why Anthony Joshua did not stop Jake Paul in the opening round. He said that even though Joshua was not throwing his hardest punches early, Jake still took significant damage. Haye pointed out that boxing rarely ends with instant knockouts, as fighters move, defend, and absorb shots over time. Jake managed to avoid some heavy punches, but the repeated impact eventually caused harm. He stressed that Joshua should not be criticized for patience, as control and accuracy matter more. The injuries Jake suffered show how dangerous boxing is, even without full power.
That's usually what happened. What was always going to happen. A lot of people thought he would only last 1 round, 2 rounds, but you've got to give Jake credit. He went out there and had a solid game plan and was implementing it at times, was landing shots and was avoiding getting hit with the big shots. But there's a reason we have weight categories in boxing, and I'd say he sticks with the cruiserweight division where the guys are the same size as him, because that, without having the schooling, the many years, I was able to give away 100 pounds in weight because I've been boxing since I was 10. I was an international amateur and world champion at cruiserweight. That's why I was able to do the big jump and use the tactics that he used to win the heavyweight championship. But credit to him, nothing but respect for Jake Paul for putting on such an event and putting himself in harm's way.
I would imagine some people back home for you are going to say, man,
AJ should have gone out of there in 2 rounds.
No, anyone who understands boxing knows it's very difficult to close the range on someone who doesn't want to hold his feet. And is AJ supposed to just run around swinging and missing? No, he's supposed to wait for the right opportunity, which he did. And once the opportunity presented himself, he landed and the fight was over. But anyone who kind of gives AJ stick because he didn't knock him out in 1 round doesn't understand boxing.
What level would you say Jake Paul is after that performance?
Pardon?
What level would you say Jake
It's
Paul
hard
is?
to tell. It's very, very difficult to see what level he was because he was fighting someone in the top 5 and top 5.
Boxing analysts have become more outspoken about Jake Paul's future, with many saying he should seriously reconsider continuing his boxing career. They note that much of his past record came from fighting retired boxers, inexperienced opponents, or athletes from other sports, which raised doubts about how strong his resume truly was. Because of this, many felt he had not fully proven himself against elite competition. After being knocked out by Anthony Joshua and previously by Tommy Fury, analysts believe the risks have finally caught up. They argue these losses show his limits and that continuing could put him in serious
fighters, not boxers, like Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley. None of them are boxers. Nate Robinson, who's a YouTuber. So I guess, over the hill, retired Mike Tyson, who's 60, almost lost his life before the fight and had blood transfusions and was coughing up blood and was transported off of a plane for passing out. And Jake Paul wanted to fight him and still tried to knock him out. A lot of y'all like to say he had mercy on Mike, but I promise you, I watched the fight. Just go back and watch it again. He was trying to knock Mike Tyson out from beginning to end. He could not do it. The reason he couldn't do it is because he refused to get too close to Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson always would swing back, and he knew could not take that punch from Mike Tyson. So he hit and he ran. And at the end of the fight, he was not showing mercy on Mike. He was trying to make sure that he doesn't get knocked out or caught with something stupid, because he knows he's about to win. He didn't want to risk it. I'm not going to keep letting y'all run with this narrative that Mike Tyson was following a script with all these fake script posts running around on Facebook, or saying that he had mercy on Mike.
Eddie Hearn spoke calmly about how the fight played out and said everything unfolded as planned. He explained that the approach was based on patience, control, and slowly breaking Jake Paul down before ending the fight. Although he first expected the bout to finish much earlier, Hearn later said he was satisfied that it went longer, allowing the strategy to fully work. He pointed out moments where Joshua stayed relaxed and confident, showing full awareness in the ring. For Hearn, this performance highlighted Joshua's experience and ring intelligence. He dismissed outside criticism, saying the results...
He said before the fight, I'm going to break him down and then I'm going to knock him out. And that's exactly what he did. I thought it'd be all over within 3 rounds. But, when I got in the ring after, because I was shouting, just, anywhere, arms. I got in, he went, what are you rushing me for? And I was like, oh, sorry. So, but like, obviously he knows what he's doing, and actually now quite pleased that we got the rounds, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw you said that. Really random, I was on Twitter and I saw Jake Paul's mom said she wants to get in the ring and punch you. She said she doesn't like the smug look on your face. She is promoting her book, so I'm not sure if she wants, But did you see that? What did you think of that?
No, I was very sad, because I couldn't have been nicer and more respectful of Jake and what he's done. And I think Logan's amazing. I think he's an incredible athlete. And I shook Jake Paul's dad's hand in the ring, And if I would have seen Mum, I would have said, all right. But I think over the years, we've obviously had our beef, and she probably don't like me anyway. And I am probably a little bit smug. I wasn't smug after the fight, because I would have been more smug if it was all over in a round. Yeah. So, no, I give Jake respect. And, sorry, Jake's mum doesn't like me, but if she can send me a free book.
Carl Froch delivered a harsh assessment of Jake Paul's fight, calling the event embarrassing for boxing. He questioned why Paul was being praised at all, arguing that the attention was driven more by spectacle than true skill. Froch warned that modern boxing is moving in a troubling direction, where social media fame and entertainment value often outweigh real ability. He said this trend risks damaging the sport's credibility and sending the wrong message to younger fans. According to Froch, fights like this should not represent boxing, and regulators should rethink how such matches are promoted, putting the sport's integrity above viral attention.
He counted out, knocked out, whatever, however you want to call it. It wasn't a bad knockout. It wasn't an El Sparko. He wasn't rendered unconscious, but he got done. He got it on the chin. He went over. He didn't beat the count. He was sort of up on his feet. But if I'm honest, the whole fight was terrible, wasn't it? It was just so bad. It was just shit, wasn't it? A proper bad fight for AJ. And let me start with AJ. AJ was following him around the ring a little bit, sort of pouring with a jab, putting the jab on the shoulder of Jake Paul, sort of putting him in the corner and not really pulling the trigger on the right hand. He didn't seem to be motivated to go in there and just smash Jake Paul into oblivion in the first 1 or 2 rounds, which I think he could have done. But he's been out of the ring 15 months. He's a bit slow on his feet, a bit ring rust maybe, and it's hard. When I used to spar novice amateurs, even when I was a world champion pro, if you're not motivated, sometimes you can have a couple of bad rounds and you're sort of looking at your opponent and a jab hits you or right hand hits you. And I think AJ was in a bit of a daze early on, just walking him around, touching the jab on his shoulder, not really pulling the trigger on the right hand. Didn't look like he got out of first gear. Jake Paul was just on pure survival mode from round 1 right through to round 6. I don't know if he's got a moral victory going 6 rounds. Maybe he has. People might give him credit for going 6 rounds. But he got in there and just survived. He just went in there and ran like a chicken from round 1 right through to round 6 when he got splattered. And it's like, it's just, you can't really justify what he's done, because this is supposed to be a professional sanctioned boxing match. And I think it brings the integrity of the sport down when somebody like AJ, who's a 2-time world champion, can't get in there and just completely dismiss somebody like Jake Paul, who I've said for ages can't fight. He's not a professional boxer. It's just AJ following him around, touching him to the shoulder. Round 1 came and went. Round 2 was much of the same, bit slow. I think AJ got caught with an overhand right at one stage, but sometimes when you're out in the rain, you're going to get wet. He was following him around, taking his eye off the ball, probably a bit undermotivated, thinking, what's this guy doing that's in front of me?
Boxing analysts said Jake Paul's latest fight clearly showed the limits of his standing in the sport. They explained that wearing gloves alone does not make someone a real boxer, and hype cannot replace skill. Some pointed out that his earlier event with Mike Tyson already raised concerns, and the Joshua fight only strengthened those doubts. Analysts also noted that many true boxing fans are losing interest, as viewership numbers reportedly failed to meet expectations when compared to major fights involving elite champions. While some conspiracy theories have surfaced, experts agree that Paul's appeal is fading and spectacle alone can no longer sustain a serious boxing career.
Or you put on a pair of boxing gloves. That does not mean that you will be perceived as legitimate. It doesn't mean people will be willing to pay to watch you fight. Me personally, I was done with Jake Paul after the pretend fight that he had with Mike Tyson last year. Clearly, I'm not the only one, because viewership for his fight last weekend with Anthony Joshua, it was significantly lower than a real fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the main channels in the description below. There are a lot of allegations right now that the fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua was rigged, or it was supposed to be rigged. According to the conspiracy theories, Jake Paul was supposed to win the fight, but Anthony Joshua decided to knock his ass out anyway. If it was supposed to be rigged, it would not be the first time that a fight in boxing was stained with corruption. But either way, it doesn't matter, because interest in seeing Jake Paul fight is on the decline. His fight last weekend averaged 33 million views on Netflix. Now, to his credit,
Sam Jones gave an honest and direct reaction to Jake Paul's loss against Anthony Joshua. He said the fight was uncomfortable to watch, not because of excessive violence, but because it revealed major flaws in Paul's technique and understanding of boxing. Jones stressed that lasting several rounds does not equal performing well. Avoiding punches, holding, or backing away may help a fighter survive, but it does not show true skill. He criticized the reliance on defensive survival tactics and said real boxing should focus on engagement, strategy, and technical ability. According to Jones, this fight clearly showed the difference between entertainment and real competition.
Anthony Joshua knocking out and breaking Jake Paul's jaw. Just talk to me right now about the fight itself, and then we'll break it down.
Bit of a crap fight, if we're all honest. It was like watching Jaws 2 when all the kids went out on their boats, and they were in the middle of the sea, and the shark was just surrounding the boat, just like that's what it was like. It was just like it was like a shark circling its prey, and just like it was like nibbling, and eventually got him. But Jake Paul showed big plums in there, no matter what anybody says about him, because I've seen people say, yeah, he went in there to survive. Yeah, okay, he went in there to survive. He's a guy that's been boxing a couple of years against a unified champion of the world who can really punch. Yeah, it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best fight. It just wasn't the best thing to watch, was it? Like it was just, yeah, it weren't great. I just want to see now Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua. I think at the stages of their careers they're at, AJ and Tyson Fury, we don't need to see interim fights, Andrew. We don't need to see interim fights because they're just potential banana skins. We want to see two of the best heavyweights of this era.
Duke McKenzie shared a clear and experienced view of the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight. He stated that his comments were based on knowledge, not personal feelings. McKenzie said the result of the fight speaks for itself, as the knockout clearly showed the difference in skill and preparation. He explained that discussing the outcome is not about attacking anyone personally, but about recognizing the realities of professional boxing. Moments like this, he said, remind everyone of the standard required at the highest level. For McKenzie, the final result alone proves the gap in ability, making further debate.
Like when you got a fly on the windscreen and you're trying to swat it, and you're trying to swat it and you miss and you keep tapping, and then eventually, bang, you get it. That's exactly what that fight was. Jake Paul didn't get in there to win last night. He got in there to survive. And he didn't do a better job of surviving. He sold the fight brilliantly. That's what he is. He's a salesman. And he's a YouTuber, influencer, call him whatever you want. So from that perspective, he did his job, but he never got in there to win. He just got in there to get beat up. I'm glad Anthony Joshua done a number on him. This is why boxers are boxers, YouTubers, whatever they want to call themselves, influencers, they should stay in their lane and fight people that they're supposed to fight on their level. This guy was never on Anthony Joshua's level, and Joshua did what he needed to do, did what he had to do for the sake of boxing, and blow this guy out and just knock him out.
What about the fact that Jake was able to land on him clean a couple of times? What did you make of that?
Oh, listen, you can't get into the water without getting hit. Fortunately for Joshua, that guy can't break an egg. So he was never in any danger. He was always going to get hit back. I mean, it was 6 rounds. Anthony Joshua was always going to take at least 1 or 2 shots over that 6-round period, but it was nothing to hurt him. It was nothing to bother him. And like I say, this is all about getting AJ's confidence back. Okay. If Jake Paul fights, if he fights KSI or KFC or whatever his name is, then those two are evenly matched, aren't they? They're evenly matched, and then they could fight, and then.
After the fight, attention quickly shifted to what Jake Paul should do next in boxing. Many analysts and fans suggested that the heavyweight division may not be suitable for him, pointing to the clear differences in size, power, and experience compared to fighters like Anthony Joshua. The matchup highlighted the serious risks of facing much larger and more seasoned opponents. Observers warned that continuing at this level could result in more injuries and long-term harm. Some advised Paul to rethink his direction and consider divisions better suited to his body and skills, stressing that smart career choices are vital in boxing.
Now, I know it's not easy to fight a guy that's running away from you, and Jake Paul made a ring bigger. It was 22 by 22 as opposed to 20
huge ring. When I was looking at it, I'm like, holy shit, this ring's massive.
I had said before the fight, I tweeted, I said, it was like a soccer field that they were, fighting in, right?
Yeah.
And, it's not easy to do that, but he just looked poor in there and like he didn't really care. And, you're being paid that much money, and people are, I looked at tickets today just to see on their ticket map how many tickets were left and what it was like. And there was tickets being sold for $3,500. And then this is the kind of performance, if you're AJ, that you give when you're being paid $35 million and people are paying that much money to get in. I thought that was, the whole show was awful. Netflix ought to be embarrassed for putting that on, but that main event was just.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching and stay